The Justice Department is investigating Minnesota state leaders. It's serving 6 grand jury subpoenas to determine whether they obstructed or impeded federal law enforcement.
Well, the DOJ also has launched a civil rights investigation after anti-ICE protesters disrupted a church service. Officials say the intimidation of Christians will be met with the full force of federal law. CBN's Caitlin Burke has more.
Demonstrators said they wanted to protest David Eastwood, one of the pastors at City's Church where the incident took place. Eastwood also reportedly directs an ICE field office in the area. While church leaders are urging calm, they also want worshipers' rights to be protected. The church, which was full when protesters entered, quickly emptied, with families ushering out small children amid the chaos.
Ice out! Ice out! You like ice? You support ice?
The interruption forcing services to end early at City's Church, which is a part of the Minnesota-Wisconsin Baptist Convention. That organization put out a statement denouncing the disruption, while also calling on state and local officials to ensure the sanctity of places of worship be protected. Executive Director Trey Turner spoke with CBN News, saying the group's churches are not immune from the fear and uncertainty faced by the rest of the community.
2/3 of our churches in Minnesota are ethnic congregations. So we have a sensitivity toward them and their plight, documented, undocumented.
Turner adding his message to protesters would be there's more than one way to show love for your neighbor.
The churches are not doing nothing, that they are doing things in their own way. If they could recognize that, I think it would help take the temperature down.
He also urges local churches to stay connected and centered around the gospel of Jesus.
The fruit of the Spirit is always a good place to start with our own personal actions. You know, are we demonstrating patience and kindness and goodness and providing peace and pointing to the author of that peace and the Prince of Peace?
Over the weekend, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz also denounced the protesters' actions. The Trump administration, meanwhile, is launching an investigation. Attorney General Pam Bondi accusing state leaders of failing to prevent lawlessness and promising to bring down the full force of federal law.
Our Civil Rights Unit has already sent experts out to Minneapolis today. The Civil Rights Unit, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the FBI, DHS is investigating this.
Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison Monday defended the demonstrators. During an interview with former CNN anchor Don Lemon, Ellison stating, quote, "None of us are immune from the voice of the public," and agreeing with the assertion by Lemon, who joined in the protest, that disrupting a church service is protected by the First Amendment. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Washington.
I'm sorry to disagree. Disrupting a church service is not protected by the First Amendment. That kind of speech is not free speech at all. You get free speech in the public square, not in a private service. And that is a very important constitutional distinction. But I wish in all of this that we would follow what was so eloquently just said. Let us lower the temperature here, lower the tension. As both sides ratchet up the rhetoric, it's not good for America. We need to come to peace now. We need to realize there's some very serious things happening in the world today that are far beyond Minneapolis, and whether we enforce our immigration laws or not, those things need our dire attention right now. And whether it's Taiwan or whether it's Syria or Iran or Venezuela, these things demand attention and demand us to be one nation, indivisible, and especially under God. In other news, President Trump's plane had to turn around during yesterday's flight to Switzerland. John Jessup has that story and more from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
That is right, Gordon. Air Force One made a U-turn mid-flight when the crew discovered a minor electrical issue, according to the White House press office. The president and his team continuing their trip on another plane. Today, he addresses the World Economic Forum in Davos. focusing on Greenland. He claims the island is needed for U.S. national security and is threatening tariffs on European nations that interfere with U.S. attempts to acquire it. Well, later this week at Davos, a signing ceremony is planned for the Board of Peace to rule Gaza. Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu confirmed he received an invitation to the board, but objects to Hamas supporters Qatar and Turkey. President Trump confirmed he spoke with Syria's leader by phone after renewed fighting between Syrian and Kurdish forces in the northeast part of the country. The conflict raising alarms over thousands of ISIS terrorists held in a prison in the region. And as a U.S. carrier strike group makes its way to the Middle East, the president said to be considering military options against Iran over its brutal crackdown of protesters. Gordon?
Well, they definitely have crossed his line. He's threatened military action if they crack down on the protesters, and they definitely did. They used snipers to kill them, and they are holding right now prisoners that they are going to execute. So if they've crossed that line, it's quite clear to me that they have, and this carrier group could be in the region as soon as this weekend. So let's be in prayer. This is a very, very critical time for the Middle East and for the entire world.
If you want to see people helped right here at home in the United States, if you want to see them helped around the world, join the 700 Club. A portion of every gift goes into the work of Operation Blessing. Another portion goes into the work of CBN International to preach the gospel around the world. You're a part of all of it when you join with us. That's $20 a month, 65 cents a day. Some can join at higher levels. We have them. 700 Club Gold at $40 a month. 1000 Club, that's $1,000 a year. That breaks out to $84 a month, and 2500 is $2,500 a year. You can change lives. It's amazing what happens when we all get together and say, yes, let's make a difference.